Player ratings then, Aston Villa 3, Everton 0. Rafa Benitez's Everton side suffering their first defeat of the season at Villa Park. Not a great defeat, was it? Actually thought Everton done okay certainly in the first half. Thought we battled, worked hard, and even in the first 10-15 minutes of the second half as well. You know, even given the injuries that we had and we found out before the start of the game, I thought Everton held themselves well. And then a mad 9 minutes of chaos, really, which was similar to the 6 minutes of chaos at Goodison Park on Monday, only this time Everton were on the receiving end of the chaos. And yeah, Aston Villa scored 3 goals in quick succession and Everton are completely down and out. Anyway, let's get into it. Asmir Begovic, I've given him a 5 today. Not as great as the game, and we made a big save in the first half, to be fair, which was a really good save from a corner. I think Tyrone Mings headed it on, and he made a really big save with his right hand to deny Tyrone Mings early on, and it was a good save. And then, you know, he didn't really have an awful lot to do. A couple of stray shots from Matty Cash that went wide of the post that he didn't really have to save. A couple of easy balls that he come and collected, but I just can't help but think that he should have done better with the second and the third goal, to be honest with you. And I know there'll be people out there that say, you know, it was far too close to him and the shots with it with far too much power. But certainly that second goal, he's looking at that. He's looking at that corner coming in. And yes, it was a great corner, and obviously it was a mistake by Luka Dean to nod it on. But, you know, it only takes a shout from Asmir to look at Luka Dean and go, leave that, it's coming straight at me, I'll come and collect that. And he doesn't. There was no communication there. And then obviously it's headed on by Luka Dean, and I get that it goes over him and he has very little time to react, but he's looking at that situation, he's looking at that ball come flying in, and he's seeing Luka Dean sort of rise for it when I think he could have just called. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh, maybe I'm being a little bit picky, but and even the third goal, again, I get that it's fired at him at about 400 miles an hour from about 10 yards out, but ultimately it's straight at him. I think if he just makes himself big and keeps himself sort of tall, then I think he saves that. You have to look at Jordan Pickford and think, would Jordan make a save in that situation? And I think he would, because Jordan makes himself big, and you know, you've really got to hit it in either corner to put it past Jordan Pickford at the moment. I just think Asmir Begovic could have done a little bit better. Again, maybe I'm being a little bit harsh. He was okay. I don't think any of the goals were particularly down to him. I just look at it and think, could he have done a little bit better? Again, maybe I'm being a little bit harsh, maybe I'm being a little bit picky, but other than the goals, he was alright. Again, he made a big save in the first half, and other than that, he didn't really have an awful lot to do. I just think maybe he could have done a little bit better. Luka Dean then, I'm giving Luka Dean a 2 today. He's very lucky to not get a 0, to be honest with you. I didn't want to give him a 1, because I don't think I've ever given anybody a 1, but he's getting a 2 today. Poor by Luka Dean. Look, I love Luka Dean. I love Luka Dean as much as the next Evertonian. I think he's a great player. But listen, the performances speak for themselves. He hasn't had a great start to the season. I know you can throw all sorts of ridiculous stats at me left, right and centre about how he's top in this category and he's top in that category, etc. But, you know, I very much like to go on what I'm seeing on the pitch, and what I'm seeing on the pitch at the moment, you know, at the start of the season at the very least, hasn't been the best Luka Dean, or certainly not the Luka Dean that we're used to. You know, for the majority of the games, he's been okay, he's done well. Today, he was poor, and you know, you can't hide from that. You know, you don't have to go as over the top as to say he needs to be out the team or he's this, that and the other, because that's nonsense, but he was poor today. The first goal is shocking defending, absolutely shocking defending. You shouldn't be allowing your forward to be goal side of you, and B, you shouldn't be getting spun that easily. You know, Luka Dean is a top you know, defender playing at the highest level of football in the Premier League. You know, he's a French international and he's making mistakes like that. It's silly. He shouldn't be making mistakes like that, allowing his man to get goal side of him. And then obviously the own goal, again, maybe you'd say it's unlucky because he doesn't really know what's behind him and he just rises and tries to get something on it. But again, you know, if he can't get a clear connection on it, then should he really be jumping in that area? It went from bad to worse for Lucas, didn't it? And like I said, I love Luka Dean. I think he's brilliant, but he was poor today, and the mistakes he made were just, again, they're shocking. You can't be making those mistakes. And you know what? I'd like to say Everton have an option to be able to say to Luka Dean on Tuesday, do you know what, you can come out, you can rest up for this game. You weren't great the other day, have a rest, sort yourself out, and then you're back in the team against Norwich. But we haven't really got that option, have we? We let go of 2 left backs in the summer. One spat his dummy and wanted first team football and walked out, and the other one we loaned out to Standard Liège. So we haven't really got any other options. So Luka Dean will probably be back in there on Tuesday night against QPR as well. But not his greatest performance in an Everton shirt, that's for sure. Don't think there needs to be a massive overreaction, but he was poor today. There's no hiding from that. Luka Dean's getting a 2. Yerry Mina's getting a 5. Again, it's really difficult to do the player ratings for this game because we done well for the first 45 minutes. We battled, we worked hard, we fought. It was a solid, structured performance. They had their chances, but we had ours. And then we done okay for the first 10 or 15 minutes of the second half. And then it all just went mad, really. Villa had their chances throughout the game, but I thought Everton done relatively well to deal with them until that 9 minutes. And even within that 9 minutes, I don't particularly think Yerry Mina was to blame for any of it. Maybe he could have been, a bit more of a physical presence from the corner to deal with that. And to be fair, Matty Cash's goal, there's far too much space in the middle of the box. Even when he turns Luka Dean inside out, there's far too much space for him to run into and shoot. And then Leon Bailey's goal, again, for me, I think it's down to Ben Godfrey. But like I said, Yerry for me today done okay. There was a couple of balls that come into the box that he dealt with, a couple of tricky situations that he dealt with well as well, with his feet and without his feet. I thought he kept Danny Ings relatively at bay and Ollie Watkins relatively at bay as well, which ultimately was what he was there to do. That was his job, was to keep those two quiet, and I think he'd done that relatively well this evening. So Yerry Mina is getting a 5. Again, maybe that's a bit harsh. Maybe I'm sort of throwing Yerry Mina in there with the blame for the goals, but like I said, I don't think he was poor today. Same with Michael Keane, he's getting a 5 again. Could he have done a bit better for any of the goals? Maybe he could have been a bit more demanding, but I just thought everything he done was okay today. He rose and won a few headers defensively. Again, was part of that partnership that kept Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins at bay for large parts of the game. Certainly kept them from getting any real clear chances on goal, and I think the pair were let down by their fullbacks today. So Michael Keaton's getting a 5 as well. Ben's getting a 4 today. Again, I think in the first half, I thought he was impressive, to be honest with you. Thought he got forward well on a couple of occasions, really showed his pace, really showed his energy. He looked like he was sort of rejuvenated in that first half. He was getting forward, he was bursting forward, he was showing that he could be a threat, as a right back. But in the second half, he really, really showed why he isn't a right back defensively. He got caught a couple of times in that first half, but he got away with it. But in that second half, that third goal, that Leon Bailey goal is shocking. If we're going to sit here and criticise Luka Dean for his, defensive frailties for the first goal, then we have to do it for Ben Godfrey for the third as well. It's absolutely shocking. He just completely allows. Leon Bailey has got about 425,000 miles of space to just walk into. And yes, okay, you could say maybe Asmir Begovic should do a little bit better. But it's far too easy. It's far too easy for Leon Bailey to even be in that situation. And that's down to Ben Godfrey ultimately not marking him and ultimately not following his man. And like I said, I think in the second half we started to see his fitness levels show again, like we did against Burnley midweek. But I think we also started to see his incapability as a right back. Look, Ben will give it 110% wherever he plays, but it's very clear that right back isn't his best position whatsoever. So Ben Godfrey is getting a 4 today. Alan in midfield then. I'm going to give both Alan and Abdoulaye Doucouré a 5. Not their greatest games, to be honest with you. I think they struggled to win that midfield battle, which was very, very important for us today. Individually, they done okay. Doucouré was winning the ball back every now and then. I think his passing was short. And very similar with Alan, winning the ball back in good areas, but then giving it away far too easily. And like I said, for me, I just think in that first half, we lost that midfield battle. We fought and we worked hard and we had chances and Villa had chances, etc. But I just thought we lost that midfield battle today, and I just don't think either done enough to fight, to put that intensity back into the game. And maybe that's because they're blowing out their arse and they're absolutely knackered because they haven't had a minute's rest for the last 4 or 5 weeks, maybe. Who knows? But I just think both could have done better today. So Abdoulaye Doucouré and Alan both getting a 5. Alex Iwobi, I'm giving him a 6. I thought he looked promising at times, was getting forward at times, was trying to create chances, playing some nice balls in as well, trying to, work it out, create that partnership between him and Damari Gray and obviously Solomon Rondon, but it just wasn't working out, for Alex Iwobi. I don't particularly put much blame on him. He wasn't massively involved in the game. I think he struggled when he had to go into a false nine, and he had that responsibility of him of being the sole striker. I think he struggled then. But again, I don't particularly put all of that on Alex Iwobi, to be honest with you. He was asked to do a job. You've got Solomon Rondon who went off, rightly or wrongly, and you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison who are out and, probably could be out for weeks. So, he was put in a position in the second half where I don't particularly think he was comfortable, but I thought he done okay. So, Alex Iwobi is getting a 6. Damari Gray, I'm giving him a 7 today. I thought he looked the most lively in a white shirt, in an Everton shirt today, getting forward and trying to create chances. Had a really good shot just before Villa's opener, which, had it have gone in, would have obviously changed, the flow of the game and maybe even potentially the outcome of the match. But, thus is football. And he had a couple of chances throughout the game where he was trying to curl it in, he was trying to get in the right area, he was trying to get shots off, and it just didn't come to fruition. But he was working hard, he was battling, he was fouled about 420 times, and Craig Pawson again proved why the level of refereeing in this country is the worst in world football by a long stretch. I don't care what anybody says, it is the worst in world football. But I thought he battled, he worked hard, and he was trying to create stuff today. So Damari Gray's getting a 7. Andros Townsend's getting a 6. Again, not his best of games in an Everton shirt. Relatively quiet today from Andros Townsend. Worked hard, don't get me wrong, worked hard, battled, fought, and tried to get forward and tried to create chances. Put a couple of good balls into the box, put a couple of bang average balls into the box as well. A couple of good corners, but ultimately, wasn't as involved as maybe we would like him. Had one shot in the first half, I believe, where he rifled it into Martinez's arms. Quite an easy save for Martinez in the end, but it was a powerful shot, to be fair. But like I said, wasn't massively involved in the game, so he is getting a 6. And then Solomon Rondon, I've given him a 6.5. It's easy on the eye to look at Solomon Rondon's performance today and say he was poor or he didn't do enough or he didn't offer us anything. But really, the biggest sort of compliment I can give to Solomon Rondon is look at how much we change. Look at how sort of, I suppose, how the quality dropped or how the performance dropped when Solomon Rondon went off the pitch. And by that, what I mean is that when we had Rondon on the pitch, although he wasn't doing an awful lot going forward, he wasn't creating a lot of chances. He had a couple of chances. He had one in the opening 10 or 15 minutes, which he was unlucky to not get on the end of. He had another one where Gray played a good ball across the box and he just couldn't get on the end of that either. But the biggest, like I said, compliment is that as soon as he went off the pitch, the whole shape just fell to bits and Everton ultimately capitulated. And that isn't just because we then didn't have a natural striker on the pitch. Yes, that has, a lot to do with it, of course it does, but it was because we didn't have a player to hold the ball up. We didn't have a player on the pitch who had the ability for the ball to stick to him. Solomon Rondon today, on a couple of occasions, the ball got fired towards him and he held it well. He dealt with it, he put his body over it, he was strong, he was physical, and he made sure that he ultimately, he looked after the ball and he gave the likes of Damari Gray, Alex Iwobi, Andros Townsend a bit more time to find space or find the run. And when he come off the pitch, that all went, and all of a sudden Alex Iwobi went into the false nine and we fell to bits, didn't we? So he didn't do an awful lot today, and it's easy to look at his performance and say he was awful, he didn't do anything, but actually his overall just sort of holding the ball up and having a sort of target man on the pitch was helping Everton and was, I think, part of the reason as to why we were coping well for that opening 45, 50, 60 minutes, whatever it was. And then when he went off, it all just sort of fell to bits. Onto the substitutes then. Andre Gomez, 5.5, come on. Played a couple of nice passes, but didn't really do anything after that, did he? I think the idea was for him to change the game like he did on Monday night against Burnley, but that didn't end up happening. John Joe Kenny, I've given him a 5. I don't know if he touched the ball, and that's no disrespect to John Joe Kenny, but when Seamus Coleman's picking up injuries and you've got a backup right back on the pitch and the manager's preferring an unfit centre-back who isn't great at right back to you, then why are you still at the football club and why are you still in the matchday squad? So John Joe's getting a 5, didn't really do anything. And then Anthony Gordon's getting a 5 as well. Come on, lost the ball a couple of times, won a free kick, but other than that, didn't really do anything. And Rafa Benitez today, look, I'm going to give Rafa Benitez a 5 out of 10. I thought we done okay. I thought we managed the game well, considering the injuries that we have and considering the massive lack of squad depth that we've got at the moment for the first 50, 60 minutes, like I said. And then we had that madness of 5 or 10 minutes where our individual mistakes caused us problems and Aston Villa capitalised on that, and then we just couldn't really get back into the game at that point. A lot of people will put that on Rafa Benitez. I don't put the performance on Rafa Benitez, but I do put partial blame on the fact that we're still at the point where we're looking at a squad thinking, how are we not being able to field a half decent side? Yes, we're the unluckiest team in the Premier League when it comes to injuries, no doubt about it. I will not hear any other argument about that. But it is still very worrying when you think of the money that we've spent over the years, and we, you know, when we pick up 1 or 2 injuries in the first team, we're looking at a team thinking, right, we're done for now. That is really worrying. So I don't particularly put it on Rafa Benitez today, but I think the squad depth is a worry. And, you know, look, put it to the side. We lost the game. We move on. First loss of the season. Still a decent start to the season. We go on to QPR on Tuesday night now. I just look at the game against QPR and I think this would have been an ideal opportunity for the likes of, you know, Alan, Abdoulaye Doucouré, you know, the likes of maybe Andros Townsend, Damari Gray to get a rest. But all of a sudden, who comes in? Who comes in for those players? Who comes in to replace them? I don't know. But look, first defeat of the season, whatever. We move on, we get on with it, onwards and upwards, up the toffees, as we say. Big thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to check out the Instant Match Reaction. That is out now on the channel as well. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like. Like I said, get your thoughts in the comment section down below. That does mean an awful lot to me. And yeah, if you're new, subscribe. Poor performance, well, poor results, really, I suppose. Poor last half an hour of the game for Everton, but this is football, isn't it? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Big thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.